trusted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome everyone to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here live on WYSL. We do have someone on the phone today, so you can't call in, but you can leave your comments, and we will read them on air if you're listening on our Facebook page, A Free Solution, the Kevin Wilson Libertarian Facebook page, YouTube channel, or on Twitter as well. We see all those stuff. And the reason we have someone calling in today is because we have Kevin Fortune on the phone from The Liberty Show and Tim Smith and Damon Kennedy on as well. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we love having you guys on once a month just to come on and chat, and also to make sure that, like, people listen to your show, which is going to be airing tomorrow. And we did a whole show, and I was part of this one, did a whole show on Biden's executive orders and talked about some of the impact those are going to have. And then I started a fight over private prisons. That took up like half the episode. Kevin, you want to give us an overview of what went on there and like some of the points that we discussed during that episode?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, Kevin, and to the listening audience. Yes, tomorrow's show, 7 p.m. on WYSL, is going to be very interesting. We talked about President Biden's executive orders, even though he said he wasn't going to do that. He has already did more executive orders than I can even keep up with. We talked about some of them, like his immigration orders, his LGBT transgender orders. We talked about, and then you were talking about his mask orders and different things. And, of course, you did bring up a very controversial point about private versus public prisons. And it just opened a really good libertarian free market conversation.
Yeah, we ended up spending a good amount of time. I've done a whole show on private prisons here, and I kind of changed my mind on that, and Alex Merced changed my mind on it, and thinking about how market forces can maybe deliver the rehabilitative access part of prison systems a little bit more effectively than the state can. But of course, this executive order is mostly virtue signaling in my mind. But we had I think it was Quentin who had was not too happy about the position I took on that. So he is very much against private prisons, and we discussed that, and whether or not private prisons have more violence in them, and whether or not it is moral for anyone to profit off of the imprisonment of another person, and whether or not the state does that too, whether they profit off of it as well.
And just to piggyback, we have to know that Quentin is one of our more liberal panelists, so it got to be a really good left, right, and middle type discussion. I think, but the core of it was, and the main point was some of our immigration things, even some of the hate, towards the Asians and different things. So it was really some really great points. It was one of the episodes you do not want to miss. And, of course, Kevin Wilson was on it. We're always glad to have famous celebrities on there like Kevin Wilson.
Because Damon had talked about, in the part that's going to air on Saturday, he talked about like the anti-Asian discrimination executive order stuff. And that was actually before the stuff happened in Atlanta, I believe. So now the conversation shifted around that a bit. And of course, there's Kevin, I think that like all of the conversation didn't end up getting in. There's going to be like more content on your podcast as well, right? Because we can only fit in a certain amount of stuff in that hour.
Correct. You can go to the Liberty Show with Kevin Fortune on YouTube. We have some Facebook videos. We're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, iTunes. What's the other one? Google Play. We're on all of those platforms, and you can listen at the whole entire unedited version.
Yeah.
Which is
so the version you'll hear Saturday is slightly edited. I end up editing that when I took out some stuff where like people were having difficulties with their microphone and whatnot. So y'all don't have to listen to that on the radio. But yeah, so like the overall the concept of executive orders, right? We started talking about this. Joe Biden, had criticized Donald Trump for his executive orders, but of course, he's made pretty extensive use of those, as did Barack Obama, as did George W. Bush. We've had presidents over the last few administrations like expand their executive authority, expand their impact in that realm. And I think so much of our political conversations ends up getting focused on the presidency nowadays, in part because they've expanded their power so much, and we've lost some of that local governance. And I kind of wish we had more of an opportunity to talk about that as part of that episode. But we have an opportunity to talk about that now. And so any of the three of you, Damon, Tim, do you feel like Joe Biden is going too far in his use of executive orders generally, or are you just going to kind of like pick out those individually and criticize them for what they are?
Well, I can speak, Tim, if you don't mind. I think in general, Biden, just like all his predecessors, has done way too much as far as the executive order, the executive pen. Because what ultimately happens is it makes it seem as if we're electing a monarch rather than a president that has checks and balances. Because whatever Biden or any other president we have that comes in here will do, ultimately, it can be undone with the next president. So as great as you may think Biden is, or as terrible as you think he is, it can quickly be undone with the next president that we have in there.
And part of that, part of the reason Joe Biden has had so many executive orders is in part because Trump had so many executive orders. And a lot of Trump's executive orders were reversing President Obama's executive orders. So now, like, we get growth in part because of that. Policy just swings wildly every 4 years.
Exactly.
And the people are left out. As Damon alluded to, it's just one person's view or decision, but what about the people, the taxpayers, the citizens? What we want just gets left out, And just to comment on that real quickly before Tim does, what's actually happening, especially with the left, with the liberals, they don't really take executive orders as subjects that they really, to me, care about. They take issues and problems and situations that they can exploit. Case in point, the immigration, and they need a problem to solve or to exploit for donations or votes. And once they do that, they're through with it. It's not really like it's a genuine, we care about this situation. And that's something we're seeing even with the immigration thing. It's just another problem to exploit. Or like you talked about, even the Asian thing, to just magnify, because they need a problem to give to the people for sympathy and pity, money and votes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot how that works. But, I'm going to get to a comment real quick. Jamie says, need to get rid of the executive order. Jamie, I'm not sure that I agree with you totally on that. Like, I think that there's a time and place for executive orders. I think there's certain situations where they make sense, where the president needs to tell a legitimate function of the government to do something, right? Like, that's what the executive order is supposed to be for. Like, okay, this is within the purview of the law, within the purview of what the executive branch is supposed to do, like carrying out a function of, like, of the military, or changing the rules there. Okay, that's fine. That's what an executive order is supposed to be for. The problem is that they've been using it as legislation instead of clarifying how an administration is carrying out the law or executing the law that was given to it by Congress or the Constitution. I mean, would you guys get rid of them altogether?
Well, that's a fair take, and actually, let me clarify. So you're right. There are far too many. So when I said eliminate, I probably shouldn't have used that terminology, but severely limit for sure, because it should be the exception rather than the rule. And right now, it's pretty much the rule. I mean, if I don't like something, I'm gonna sign it with my executive pen, and it's now common, basic common law essentially, until the next president comes in there and gets rid of it. But to your point, though, if there's something that really has to get done, executive order, cool, one or two, fine. They've got pages full of them, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd also pitched the concept, like, should we just get rid of the president for a while? So don't like look at me as like someone who's like very.
Don't tempt me now.
I know, right? That's like, hey, can we just not have a president? Promise to be super cool about it. I think we'll be fine. We'll be all right. But there are other options. There's executive councils. There's other ways of doing the functions of the executive branch, and I think those are worth exploring. But the executive orders themselves, not an issue. It's how we use them, and it's how Congress refuses to challenge their legitimacy when they've overstepped their constitutional authority.
Well,
And
Kevin,
okay.
I don't know. I'm leaning towards Damon the first time. I'm like, get rid of them. I wouldn't say that at first, but we have abused them and exploited them so much in American history. Once we abuse or take something so far, we're not going back. And like you said, now they're not even executive orders. They're just, like authoritarian, type of declarations. My only problem with executive orders is that you need to represent the people, the taxpayers, but we're representing one person's personal beliefs. If there's an executive order to do something that, it affects everyone, but if it's just your belief, your ideology, politically, socially, economically, but yet we all suffer.
Kevin, they have the mandate of the people. Why shouldn't they act? All right. No, I'm kidding about that, guys. But thanks. We're joined today by our friends from the Liberty Show. We'll be back on A Free Solution in just a few minutes, and we're going to be talking about the Georgia voting laws and what's going on there, separate truth from fiction, where should we be concerned, where, maybe are things getting blown out of proportion. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here on A Free Solution. Be back soon.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
When you've been seriously injured in a car crash, you need a lawyer who knows how to beat the big insurance companies. Call me and I'll take them on so you can focus on your health and family.
Car crash, call Salino. Salino, call Salino. 888-2020.
Main Street, Rochester.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here with our friends from The Liberty Show, which you can hear on the flagship station WYSL tomorrow night and Sunday. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. You'll hear the episode about executive orders. Can't hear it on our flagship station, but shout out down the line to those listening today over at WACK out in Newark and WENY, the Patriot down in the Southern Tier, and of course our friends listening online as well. If you're listening to us not on WYSL, we love you too. And if you want to listen to The Liberty Show and hear the episode that we talked about in the first segment, you'll just have to go to a YouTube channel or their Facebook page or look for their podcasts. Anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find The Liberty Show. Just look it up. It's there. I've seen it. I promise you. And so we're gonna switch topics a little bit. We're gonna start talking about the Georgia voting law because I haven't had the opportunity to talk about that. That's been a big thing in the news the last few weeks, and it's still ongoing, and there's still challenges to that law. But I want to make sure that we can kind of understand the facts of the situation. Where should we be concerned? Where are people playing political games? What's happening here? So Damon, it sounds like you can give us a little bit of an overview of what this is and what's going on down in Georgia. Go.
Well, yeah, so this is an example of political theater at almost a Tony Award-winning level. The Republicans, because of what happened in this past election, they want to make it seem like this is the issue of our time that we must absolutely solve. But what it shows really is that our politicians, they don't work for us; they work for themselves. And this new law that they've passed is really yet another example of the elites. In this time, it's on the Republican side, who are doing everything in their power to make it seem as if we've got to do everything to make sure that we're protecting the voter, quote unquote. They're trying to protect the Republican voters. They're not trying to protect any voters in general, because there are people who are independents who can vote for one side or the other. So rather than make their ideas more palatable to the general consensus, they want to try to do everything they can to try to limit the number of people that can vote. And so they are acting like this is an affront upon the political process if they don't pass this law right now. Now, on the flip side of that, you've got Democrats who always make it seem like lowering the voting age is going to make a difference, making sure that illegals can vote. So they both have ulterior motives in doing what they do. But what neither side wants to do is actually make ideas palatable to the general populace to make it seem like I've got to support these guys. These guys are talking good sense. They both try to rig the system in their favor. And what the Republicans are trying to do, it's very rich that they're trying to do this, because when they're gerrymandering districts to almost guaranteeing themselves victory, they don't say anything. But because they lost this past election, they want to make it seem like there was all sorts of fraud, even though it wasn't really adjudicated as such. But because they said it, they want to believe in their minds, so they don't have to change their policies.
Yeah, and so just to step back for that a minute, like the accusation coming from kind of Trump Republicans in Georgia is that there was massive voter fraud that swung the state to Joe Biden in the 2020 election, and also resulted in the election of Democratic U.S. senators there as well. And so what prompted these changes to election laws was their accusation that there's too much fraud going on, right? But let's talk about what does the law actually do? How does it change voting access? Are there any new barriers to voting in Georgia because of this law? That it doesn't do what Democrats accuse it of doing, of essentially taking away the right to vote for marginalized communities.
Well, here's the thing. So it's up to interpretation what one thinks disenfranchising is, but essentially, the way it has been in the past anyway is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is generally the hours that you could vote. And what the law does is it kind of makes it a little bit muddy in that it says that you can still have those, but it's up to the discretion of the actual local jurisdiction where it is. So if there's a jurisdiction that wants to make it 9 to 5 or whatever hours they want to have it, that's fine. They can do that. So technically you can still vote, right? But generally speaking, the people who work for a living, who maybe get off at 5, wouldn't be able to get to the voting location. And then also too, they've limited the access to drop boxes, which again, you don't need to really get into the weeds of the law necessarily, but it's more on an abstract level. These were not necessary changes that needed to be made, right? Because the accusation of voter fraud was only because the Republicans lost the state of Georgia this past election. If they had won, everything would have been fine. Everything would have continued as usual. So really, that's the bigger picture that we need to kind of look at right now. And so if you look at any any particular aspect of this law, you could probably look at each one individually and say it's not that bad. But when you put it collectively together, it really kind of stifles the ability for people to have the ability to vote. And what they're generally trying to do is it really impacts the more densely populated areas, such as Atlanta, because such as Atlanta goes, so goes the state of Georgia. At least that's what some people say, because there's about 4 million people in the metropolitan Atlanta area. And if you add up all the rest of the people in the state of Georgia, Atlanta kind of is the big elephant in the room. So because the people in metropolitan areas, as a general rule, try to essentially vote Democrat by and large, then this rule is kind of meant to really impact them more than anybody.
Right, and I can see how that could look like the intention here. I do want because I'm reading about the law right now, like the voting hours thing, right? It's a little bit confusing how it's structured, because basically what they said was, well, the default early voting hours are now going to be 9 to 5, which made it seem like to some people that they were limiting voting hours to 5 p.m. You can still have it open at 7 p.m. And in fact, it ends up making it so you can have in individual counties, instead of a one Saturday, 9 to 4 p.m., you can now have it 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekends if they wanted to open the new early voting laws. So in a way, it kind of expands some of that stuff. And same thing with the drop-off thing. Like, it doesn't totally eliminate drop-offs, but it kind of made a new set of rules to make understanding whether or not you were within the law a little bit more complicated. And then there's the water thing, right? So that's the big one. Tim or Kevin, do you guys want to talk about that part of it, and we'll kind of walk through what it actually means?
Well, that was my fake news Friday. You stole my thunder.
Oh, no.
But just to pick that, also, I'll let Tim, I don't know if he wants to go ahead, but just to mention, there was an ID requirement now for your mail-in, which is really crazy, because when you register, you have to show ID and everything. So all of that is already done. But now, you can't just sign your mail-in ballot, even if you're disabled, people that are vision impaired or whatever, or can't, drive to the poll. So they made it harder that way. They limited, like, some of the registration periods, some of the, I think it's 11 days before when it used to be right before. It's just, but to your point of the water thing, this just blew my mind, because you cannot give water or food or snacks to someone in line, even if you're family or friends. If Damon and I are standing there and I pass out from dehydration because I've been in line for 8 hours, if he gives me water, he can go to prison for up to a year or be fined $1,000. If somebody's with you and they're maybe diabetic, then you give them a cracker or something to keep their blood sugar level up. You can, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so the water thing's like weird, because I think this is one of those things where it's a poorly written law that makes it look like things are done in bad faith. And maybe it kind of seems like they might have been done in bad faith, because you're not allowed to give water or food to anyone within 25 feet of, or be within 25 feet of any voter standing in line in a polling place. So, like, it's not just being close to a polling place. If the line goes back, a quarter mile, which would be pretty long, you're not allowed to hand out water to anyone in line. They make exceptions for poll workers, where you can have a self-service water station do this. The ostensive reason for this is that they want to eliminate bribes for voters. They don't want political groups doing that, which makes sense. In New York State, it's also illegal to do that too. You can't hand out water. If I, when I was running for Congress last year, handed out water to people in line, that looks like I'm trying to influence their vote, right? So the reason we do that, we have a long history in this country of giving out whiskey to people in line, and for better or worse, we don't allow that anymore. But so there's some good reasons behind that. But now, instead of like non-political groups or people just trying to help folks standing in line in the hot Georgia sun, waiting to vote, they made it illegal for them to hand out water, which is ridiculous, and they should change that right away. But they're saying, well, it's fine. Poll workers and are exempted from this, so we can just have these waters out. Is that okay? Do you think that's a good enough exemption?
Is Tim on?
No. Well, we're going to have Tim respond after the break.
Okay.
So I've run us up into a break now. But thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're joined by our friends from The Liberty Show. And we're going to be back talking a little bit more about the Georgia election laws in the next segment. And then for the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk about Fake News Friday. All right, thanks again. We'll be back in just a few.
Stand up for your freedom. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We're looking at clear skies. Frosty cold will drop back into the 20s. Saturday should be a pretty nice day. We'll start sunny and cold. Will end milder but cloudy near 50. Could be a shower Saturday night, but that'll clear for some nice weather on Easter Sunday. Sun and clouds, temperatures in the 50s Sunday afternoon. I'm Rich Canilia, WYSL.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
WYSL.
A lawyer asked Jesus, "What is the greatest commandment?" Jesus said to love God and love your neighbor. Wishing to justify his poor behavior, the lawyer asked, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus answered with a story of a stranger beaten and left for dead on a dangerous road. After the political and religious leaders refused to stop and help, a foreigner from Samaria had compassion, bandaged up his wounds, and paid for his recovery. Easter reminds us that Jesus' death on the cross for our sins means that he became the Good Samaritan for people beaten and left for dead by their sin. As recipients of God's love, what should we do with our newfound life? Jesus told the lawyer, "Go and do likewise." On behalf of women facing unplanned pregnancy and the baby's Compass Care helps them have Happy Easter.
Spring's the thing at Victor Chevrolet, where it's easy to save and fun to drive your brand new Chevy. Get outside in the spring breezes in your 2021 Chevy Equinox all-wheel drive LS. Lease it for just $229 a month for 39 months. Or enjoy the versatility of a tough and roomy 2021 Trailblazer LS front-wheel drive. Lease for only $89 a month for 39 months. Or check out the 2021 Chevy Trax LS front-wheel drive, just $99 a month for 36 months. Lease the 2021 Chevy Bolt LT for $149 a month for 36 months. Or maybe you'd like to buy a 2019 Chevy Trax LT for just $16,990. MSRP is $26,645. So you can save almost $8,000 on this previous loaner vehicle. All lease deals include factory rebates, incentives, and discounts. 10,000 miles per year, $2,500 cash or trade, first payment, tax, acquisition, and DMV fees due at signing for all leases. Tier 1 credit approval required. All deals end 4/30/2021. Find new roads at Victor Chevrolet, Route 96 in Victor. Visit VictorChevrolet.com.
When you need contracting work done around your home or business, it's frustrating to find someone with the expertise, experience, and versatility that's just right. Chamberlain Construction to the rescue. Chamberlain's done it all, commercial and residential, and you name it, Chamberlain can do it. Roofing, siding, kitchens, baths, decks, porches, remodeling, bump outs, stores, garages, with the best in materials and workmanship. Over 30 years of reliable, ethical experience anywhere in our region. Chamberlain Construction, Dansville, 370-5959, 370-5959. Contact Lee Chamberlain, Lee at ChamberlainConstruction.com. Spelled Chamber,
Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten Free Bakery offers a great selection of pies, cookies, and dinner rolls. Call 226-9575 and place your order. Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten Free Bakery in Avon.
It's time to put your liberty into action. Come and listen to The Liberty Show here on WYSL Voice of Liberty on the first Saturday of the month at 7 p.m. Hope you're able to tune in to The Liberty Show here on WYSL.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're here live on WYSL. So if you want to leave a comment, participate in the conversation, let us know on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever you're listening. You can read those. We can't have you call in today because we have Kevin Fortune on the phone along with Damon Smith and Damon Kennedy and Tim Smith from The Liberty Show. And we're talking about Georgia election laws now. And Tim, I know you wanted to jump in there too and talk about some of this stuff. So Tim.
Thank you, Kevin. I truly appreciate the opportunity again to be on, and to the Liberty family. Shout out to you all. Listen, I listened to the Liberty family and to everyone talk and disparage the Georgia election reform law. Personally, as the Duke of Liberty, I don't think the Georgia voting law goes far enough. I think we should disenfranchise everyone. In fact, I think the Georgia legislature should have gone further, said screw the Constitution, enacted a poll tax just to show that they are serious about reforming the direction, changing the course of this country. But of course, they didn't do that. And the reason why they didn't do that is because we no longer have presidents. We no longer have elected officials. What we have now are elected monarchs who then turn around and rally and cheer on their court. And that's what the Congress, that's what the state legislatures are. They are the courts of the executive monarchy. We used to call them presidents. I say we change that and just call them the kings or the queens if Lockham Harris should become president, because that's what they are. Personally, I think we need a poll tax. We need to guarantee that people who vote understand at least a basic economic theory, if you will. They need to understand that stuff doesn't just fall out of the sky for free. They need to understand that these stimulus checks that we've received, and this whole thing that Georgia has about, oh, well, you can't give water out to the folks who are standing in line. BS. The problem with that, right, is that we've already demonstrated through these stimulus checks that votes can be bought. Trump tried to buy them. He failed. And then Biden came around. He even lied about the $2,000 checks, but folks still fell for it and elected him, not because they thought he was a great guy, but because he paid for their votes via stimulus checks. So this whole thing about we can't pay for votes, that's BS. We do it. The federal government has done, the president has done it. This is the way of the world in this country, is that you pay for votes, whether it is expanding the social welfare state or giving jobs and other things to your cronies.
Yeah, so what you're saying is if your vote is being influenced by someone giving you a bottle of water, you are not holding out for enough. You need to ask for that stimmy. That's what the real problem is.
My vote is worth at least a Frappuccino Grande from Starbucks. I think that I should be able to demand that.
All right, so guys, if you want to buy Tim's vote, that's how it is. That's the price. just a little bit of Starbucks. All right, Kevin, do you have any response to that?
No, but I want to bring it. I know we're limited on time. Is it okay if I kind of switch the gears a little bit to the main emphasis of what's going on locally? Is that
Sure.
A lot of this has been, and David could speak on it more, and Tim, but that it's influencing people of color, specifically black people, African Americans, minorities. So they say that that's what, like Damon alluded to, primarily is for Fulton County, which is where Atlanta's at. And one thing that was in the law, I don't know the direct wording, but they actually the state now is kind of more in charge of local elections even than the counties were, or they're infringing upon that, and that is serious. Once again, it's government and its finest taking over big government. But so this is the point that, you know, they're infringing upon or voter suppression for blacks, minorities, that type of thing. So that's the big uproar. Once again, liberals, progressive, you know, all you got to do is have a problem or a cause. But
if I can cut in,
okay.
Listen, Kevin, I would like proof that blacks are being disenfranchised by these new this new voting reformation. I don't see that. The requirements that they have for voting are legit in my sight. And the only thing that I can see that an argument could be made that it is disenfranchising black voters or brown voters is the cutting back of hours for voting in larger counties versus smaller counties. But the bill or the law is written so badly that it doesn't explicitly state that. So I would like to hear exactly how this law disenfranchises folks that look like me. Everything everyone has said, including the Democrats, has always been a feel-good, and this is what they like to do. They like to parade black people every opportunity to say, look, your rights are being disenfranchised. Our rights aren't being disenfranchised. If you're serious about voting, you will vote. You will make a way to vote. And I can speak from personal experience when Bush was running. I had to drive 8 hours down to Miami and stand in line for another 9 hours to vote. That was because I took my vote seriously. We need to call a spade a spade. This is political theater at its best. The black political talking heads are trying to rally the black folks to get riled up about something that's neither here nor there.
Well, Tim, you stole my thunder again, but I'm going to fine you for that. But no, that's the point, and that's my point. The left, the liberals, the progressives, it's just another chance to cry victim. You know, I'm the victim. Feel sorry for me. But to the point that I was bringing out, Kevin, is that, as Tim said, it's a big cry, but it is theatrics because now people are calling nationally for this boycott of Georgia, which people are canceling planes with Delta. But actually, I was looking it up. They actually are requesting that they move the Masters, which is big money in Georgia, several hundred millions of dollars. They actually are going to have the All-Star game, baseball All-Star game here in July. They are actually have players nationally that are saying, hey, move the All-Star game. But people are boycotting Delta, Home Depot, and Coca-Cola. And these companies are feeling it. The CEO of Delta actually spoke out to the governor, and they've had some back and forth, which has just been, as Tim and Damon both said, good theater. But, you know, like Tim said, it's all, you know, they use blacks, they use any situation, the children at the border, whatever, you know, the left does to get more votes, get more money, feel sorry. But I just wanted to bring that up, that this is really big right now because people are walking around with Boycott Georgia buttons on and different things. And a lot of companies are canceling conventions, canceling possible events, and it's starting to, you know, especially after COVID, you know, it's starting to hit people in their pocketbook.
If I could bring up one point, this thing about boycotting Georgia is complete and total nonsensical BS because at the end of the day, these same people that they say that they're rallying for, that they're helping the black folks, the brown folks, by saying that we're not going to do business in Georgia, to boycott Georgia, guess what? A lot of those service positions are held by black people. So if we boycott Georgia and we get behind this, guess who's going to suffer? Black people. Thank you, Democrats.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, and boycotts is certainly a powerful tool to influence this, and you know, I'm looking at this a lot. I've kind of got a mixed opinion on this because there's a lot of it I think is overblown, to be honest. And as I kind of pointed out, but there's other stuff. Look, the way it's written, it's meant to be intentionally vague. It looks like it's meant to scare people into limiting hours, even though it doesn't seem to actually do that. But it seems like it's meant to scare people into helping others who are standing in line. That probably should be a crime to do that. You should be able to just give people water. Now, again, if you're giving people whiskey and frappuccinos, I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit more. Maybe that's more of a problem. But
that's part of the free market.
It's part of the free market. Well, I think that's a legit question. We could probably do a whole other show on that. Like, should you be able to sell your vote? Without that money being extracted from taxpayers. Like if it's someone privately doing that, should you be able to sell your vote? And what price would you put on it? I don't know. That's a discussion for a whole other different day. And that's not, legally should you be able to sell your vote? It's morally should you be able to do that? Should it
Kevin,
be against
to
the
your
law?
point, Kevin, they are not trying to have good laws or bad laws. And to something Damon has said many times, they're just trying to appease their voters. They know that if we come up with these type of things that sound like they're hurting minorities, sound like they're, stopping fraud, that a lot of the people in the rural areas, not well educated or informed, are just far on the right. They get up and start jumping up and down. So it's
That's
not even
it.
meant to be.
So this is virtue signaling. This is what it's virtue signaling to look like they're doing something to cut down on fraud when it doesn't really do all that much. Gets the left mad, gets the right mad. Everyone fundraises, and where are we, the people, left off? Well, frustrated and probably in a worse opposition. But this is a great discussion, guys. We have to go to break, though. We're going to come back to Fake News Friday. Thanks for listening to us here on A Free Solution. Talk to you soon.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, "He is my refuge and my fortress, for he will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease."
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. We are doing Fake News Friday. This is, of course, where we read headlines and or parts of stories, and you got to tell us whether or not it's fake news or real news. And I got a fun one this week. So I'm sure some of you guys have seen that there was a a big press thing with senators who are going down to Mexico, and they're talking about the immigration crisis down there and whatnot. And so there's a few different things going on there. And one guy ended up kind of overshadowing the whole thing with his comments. And he says, or he allegedly said, 20 years ago in Montana, meth was homemade. It was homegrown, and you had purity levels less than 30%. Today, the meth that is getting into Montana is Mexican cartel. Guys, is it real news or fake news that there's a senator who is sad that meth is no longer made in America? Kevin, real news or fake news?
Is that senator Republican or Democrat?
Does it matter?
Yeah, because they have totally different. If it was a Republican, they're like, "Hey, we need the money, the taxes." I say that's real because our congressmen right now are not the smartest, brightest bulbs in the. I say it's real.
Real. All right, Tim. Real news or fake news?
It's got to be real.
It's got to be real. Real. There's a senator upset we're no longer making meth in America. Damon, what do you think?
Once upon a time, that sounds so asinine, you would want to say it's fake, but with everything that's going on, that's got to be real.
Yeah. So that is a real headline. It's so funny because this was a joke on 30 Rock a few years back, when Jack Donaghy and his girlfriend or wife, I can't remember what it was, we're talking about joking about like not making meth in America anymore, and what's happened to American manufacturing. No, but this really happened. What he was trying to say, I think, if I'm being super generous about it, he was trying to say that the meth coming out of Mexico is more potent and more dangerous. But the headline that got taken out was like him talking about meth not being made in America anymore, and the Mexican meth is worse than American meth. Back when America made its meth, it was less dangerous. So, guys, does he have a good point? Should we make meth in America again? Is that what's wrong with our country?
Well, they're more worried about taxing it. They could care less if it's dangerous.
No, I mean, guys, it's quite a thing. So they're trying to make a point about about the dangerousness of meth, but the headline itself. It's a little bit misleading, but it is real. He wasn't sad about meth not being made in America. He was saying meth was more dangerous in Mexico. So it's real, but it's a little bit misleading. All right, so let's move on to another headline though. Kevin, did I totally steal your thunder? Do you have no more?
No more. That was it.
Oh, it's gonna be on that. Oh, bummer. All right, how about Tim? Did you get one?
I do have one. Actually, I have a couple, but this is the one that sticks out the most to me. Georgia man receives final paycheck of $915 in oil-covered pennies with a FU note. The 91,515 coins weighed about 504 pounds and were delivered to the worker after he was forced to contact the government to get his last pay stub. True or false?
All right, real news or fake news?
I'm gonna go real.
Real. All right. Kevin F., what do you think?
I know the answer to this. I'm going to bow out.
Oh, you can't do that. I mean, that just gives you an advantage. You gonna say it's real or fake?
It's real.
It's real? I don't know. I've seen this in memes. I've certainly seen pictures of this. I'm going to say fake news, though. I'm going to say it's fake. I'm going to be contrarian. All right.
It's real news. A man from Fayetteville, a man from Fayetteville, Georgia got his final overdue paycheck from a local auto shop in the form of a pile of pennies with a note that read "FU" attached to it.
Wow. Zach, go ahead.
Kevin, 90,000 pennies was on his driveway when he woke up. Can you imagine? And they were oiled. I can't say on the radio why they were oiled, but it has something to do with the note.
Wow. All right, then. Well, I feel like at that point, though, and I know it's not legal to do this, like, it's probably worth more in copper and zinc than whatever the actual check was. Because aren't pennies like technically worth more than like 1 cent in their metal? I thought they were. And I know they're more expensive to produce than 1 cent. Also, why haven't we gotten rid of pennies yet is also a good question, and maybe a discussion for a later day. But all right, so yeah, that's real news. Go ahead.
No, I said, so we're not going to get rid of them so we can pay people their final paycheck in.
Yeah, it exists for situations like this. This is exactly what it's for. It's in case you need to send a message to someone. If you need to pay that DMV bill, just you bring it in. I think I've seen stories about people doing that too, like coming in and bringing in the traffic ticket stuff or like registration stuff and pennies, nickels, dollar bills.
Well, there ought to be a law that all taxes are paid in greasy pennies.
I could agree. Like, if you have to physically move all of those pennies somewhere, right? Like, you're gonna feel the literal weights of taxes that are extracted from you every year. If you have to carry it in big, like, cartoonish money sacks, like, people are gonna be like, "Oh wow, I'm paying too much in taxes." I think you're onto something here.
Kev, it was funny because what made this, Tim didn't mention the guy, the employee. What he said in a statement was that my boss owes me a pretty penny. So the boss said, "Okay, I owe you a pretty penny. Here are your pretty pennies."
All right, that's great. No, it is very petty. But it's all right. It made good fodder for Fake News Friday. Tim, did you say you had another one?
Oh no, that's the one we want to run with.
That's the one. The other one's not as good.
No.
All right. I'm sorry for you.
COVID-19 inspires 1,200 new German words like Gusten Condom. True, real story or fake?
Gusten Condom? Are you pronouncing that right? Is there an umlaut in that anywhere?
I don't know. My German begins and ends with Deutsche.
Deutsche. Warum? Ja, ich kann Deutsch sprechen. But no, I'm gonna say real, because they Germans love like mashing together compound words and making new things, in ways that are sometimes hilarious to English speakers who are like interpreting every aspect of this and then trying to pronounce with some difficulty what the heck they're talking about. I'm gonna say real.
I say fake.
Damon, you got an answer on this?
Like I said, that's real.
It's real?
Yes, it is a real story. Gleichen Condom, and I do not apologize for butchering the German language. They need to stop speaking German and only speak English. But anyway, Gleichen Condom translates into face condom. Annoyed at someone wearing a mask with their nose exposed, call them a masken trottel or mask idiot.
Masken trottel. See again, I love Germans like mashing together like awkward words like that. It's amazing. I'm gonna have to look up that list now. Well, that's awesome. All right, so we only have a minute left. So unfortunately, no more time for any fake news items. Damon, if you had any, I'm sorry. we'll have to get to it next time. But thanks again, guys, for joining us from Liberty Show again. On the flagship station, WYSL, you can catch the episode about executive orders tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Well, Saturday, 7 p.m. But if you're not listening to it on WYSL, you can always catch the YouTube rebroadcast and the podcast version as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. All right. We'll be back here on A Free Solution. I'll be back on Monday. I'm back in on Mondays now, guys. So I'll be back Monday, Wednesday, Friday now. Larry Sharp will, of course, still be in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Have a wonderful weekend, folks. Talk to you then.